The lobby of the Grand Regent Hotel gleamed like gold, marble floors reflecting chandeliers that cost more than a year's salary for most. Everything was flawless until he walked in. A Chinese millionaire, Liang Wei, known across continents for his temper, his power, and his money. He wasn't a guest tonight. He was an inspection. The staff froze, eyes wide, hearts racing. Manager David Clark rushed to greet him, bowing awkwardly, stuttering every word. Welcome, Mr. Liang." He tried to say something in Mandarin, but only ended up butchering the phrase. Liang's eyes narrowed, his tone sharp as a knife. "You insult my language in my presence?" David's hands trembled. Guests stared. The lobby fell into heavy silence. That's when a calm, female voice cut through the tension. "Tabu Shirgaida, he didn't mean it." Every head turned. It wasn't a translator. It wasn't a manager. It was the maid, a young black woman in a crisp uniform, holding a mop, eyes steady as glass. The billionaire blinked. For the first time that evening, he was speechless. The woman's name was Amara Johnson, 25. Originally from Atlanta, she had been working at the Grand Regent for 8 months, invisible to the guests, ignored by management, but never missing a single detail. David, the manager, whispered harshly, "Amara, what are you doing? Step back." But Liang raised a hand, silencing him. His voice low, curious now. "You speak Mandarin fluently?" Amara nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. I studied at Beijing University before I came here." Whispers rippled through the staff. Some laughed quietly. A maid studied in China? Impossible. But Liang's face changed. There was no laughter, only interest. "And why," he asked, "would a girl who studied in Beijing end up mopping floors in a London hotel?" Her answer was simple. "Because sometimes life changes faster than language can explain." A faint smile flickered on Liang's lips. For a moment, the entire hotel seemed to hold its breath. By evening, news spread to the staff quarters. Everyone talked about the black maid who spoke Chinese better than the millionaire's own assistant. David called her into his office, anger mixed with fear. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You embarrassed me in front of Mr. Liang. He could report this." Amara stood calmly. "Sir, I prevented him from firing you." He froze. "What?" He was about to leave and demand a public apology. But when I spoke, he decided to stay. "That means he's not angry at the hotel anymore." David's voice faltered. He sat down, realizing she was right. Still, something about Amara's tone unsettled him. Too calm, too confident, like she knew something he didn't. That night, after the lobby closed, Amara stayed behind. She looked up at the giant glass ceiling, her reflection shining back at her. She whispered to herself in Mandarin, "Sometimes you must hide who you are until the world is ready to listen." A faint sound of footsteps echoed behind her. Liang had returned. Alone. "You work late," he said softly. "And you watch closely," she replied. He smiled, intrigued. "You remind me of someone I knew, a girl who built an empire from nothing." Amara looked at him, eyes unwavering. "Empires fall faster than they rise, Mr. Liang, especially when they're built on lies." Liang's expression darkened, as if she'd just touched a secret no one should know. Outside the glass walls, the London night was thick with rain. Inside, 2 people, a billionaire and a maid, stood locked in silent war. Neither moved, neither broke eye contact. And from that moment, nothing in the Grand Regent would ever be the same. The language of shadows. The Grand Regent Hotel slept under layers of silence that night. But silence, as always, was only a disguise. Amara moved like a whisper through the marble corridors. Her uniform was still pressed, her hair tied back, but her mind was a storm. Every sound mattered. Every step had a rhythm. The smallest echo could betray her. Earlier that day, Liang's private suite had become the stage of humiliation. The manager had mocked her accent, laughed at the idea of a maid understanding Mandarin. The laughter had echoed across the lobby, until Amara had answered back in flawless, poetic Chinese that silenced everyone. Now, in the shadows, she replayed every word. not out of pride, but fear, because the language she spoke wasn't just Mandarin. It was his language, and anyone who recognized it would know exactly who she was. Across the city, in a top-floor penthouse, Liang was not sleeping either. His team had started tracing something strange. Unauthorized data pings coming from a server registered to the same hotel. It looked small, harmless, until the logs matched a pattern he'd seen before. A pattern from years ago. From her. Liang's jaw tightened. It can't be, she's gone. But ghosts don't stay buried when billionaires build empires on lies. The next morning, the hotel buzzed with rumors. Staff whispered about the mysterious Maid who spoke like a diplomat. Some believed she was an undercover inspector. Others thought she had some secret education from abroad. Only the manager stayed silent, his pride wounded, his fear slowly growing. Amara continued her work, but her eyes told a different story. Every tray she carried, every room she entered, she was mapping patterns in her mind. The hotel wasn't just her workplace. It was her battlefield. She had planted something deep in its systems the night before. Something small, something silent. When the clock struck noon, Liang's private elevator stopped mid-descent. Lights flickered, doors jammed, panic spread. But in the security room, a single monitor remained stable, streaming a silent camera feed from the kitchen. And there she was, Amara, calm, focused, typing on a small, silver laptop beneath a counter full of plates. Her fingers moved like she was playing piano keys. Fast, precise, impossible to follow. A young bellboy, nervous but curious, whispered, "Miss, what you doing?" Amara didn't look up. "Writing music," she said softly. Only the system can hear it. But that music wasn't melody, it was code. And that code was already crawling to the hotel's mainframe, unlocking layers nobody was meant to touch. Meanwhile, in Liang's office, his tech chief shouted, "Sir, someone's in our hotel network. They've breached 2 internal firewalls." Liang stood up, staring at the data lines flickering on the holographic display. "No," he whispered, his voice cold. "Not someone. Her." For a moment, the billionaire who ruled continents froze. Because if it truly was her, then everything he built was already in danger. Back in the kitchen, Amara closed her laptop and exhaled. She looked up at the security camera and smiled faintly, as if she knew exactly who was watching. "Hello, Liang," she murmured. "Let's see if you've learned anything since last time." The lights flickered once more, this time across the entire West Wing. Guests screamed. Alarms buzzed. And in the chaos, Amara walked calmly out of the kitchen. Like a ghost who had finished a rehearsal, she disappeared down the hallway. The faint reflection of her eyes caught in the red emergency glow, but her words lingered in the empty corridors. "If you can't play the right notes, the silence will." And somewhere far above, in his private office, Liang whispered back, "So it really is you." He wasn't angry. He was terrified, because Amara wasn't done. She was only tuning the instrument. Echoes in the code. The Grand Regent looked normal again the next morning. The lights worked, the guests laughed, and the air smelled of expensive breakfast buffets and new perfume. But beneath all that glitter, something had changed. The hotel's mainframe wasn't sleeping anymore. It was listening, watching, breathing Amara's code. Amara moved to the lobby like a shadow wrapped in calm. No one noticed the slight smile playing at her lips. She had planted her message, and now the system itself carried her heartbeat. Every camera, every server, every door lock. They were no longer loyal to the hotel. They were loyal to her. In the penthouse, Liang stood before a wall of screens showing the live feeds of his empire, his hotels, casinos, shipping lines, and offshore data centers. But the feed from the Grand Regent flickered again, like a bad memory refusing to die. "Trace it," he ordered. His tech chief frowned. "We've traced it 3 times, sir." The signal disappears into a loop. It's like the code is hiding behind itself. Liang's hands clenched into fists. Only one person could write code like that. He stared out the window. 5 years ago, Amara had worked for him, not as a maid, but as a developer. The youngest cybersecurity prodigy his company had ever hired. She had built firewalls strong enough to guard nations. But when she uncovered what Liang was doing with her creations, using them to spy on activists, journalists, even governments, she had confronted him. The next day, she'd vanished. He'd erased her career, her records, her bank accounts, made her invisible. He thought she'd never survive. He was wrong. Now, the ghost he buried was haunting him in the one place he thought safe, his own empire. Back at the hotel, Amara stood near the piano in the empty lounge. Her fingers glided across the keys, soft and deliberate. Every note matched a command pulsing through the mainframe. Each melody triggered a new sequence, passwords changing, files decrypting, access granted. To anyone else, she looked like a maid lost in thought. But her music was rewriting history. The manager entered, clearing his throat. "You shouldn't be here. Staff aren't allowed to touch the piano." Amara looked up, her calm gaze steady. Something shouldn't stay silent. Before he could respond, the lights dimmed again. The digital billboards outside the hotel flickered, and for a brief, terrifying second, the giant screen showed Liang's company logo melting into lines of code. Then came a single word: consequences. Guests gasped. Phones came out. The video went viral within minutes. Liang saw it from his office feed and slammed his fist on the desk. "She's inside my system. Shut it down." But it was too late. Every command his engineers sent was intercepted, rerouted, and returned, like an echo laughing back at them. Amara's voice, distorted through the speakers, filled the server room. "Remember what you told me, Liang? That power belongs to those who can control information? Let's test that theory." Liang's expression hardened. "She want a war? She'll get one." He turned to his team. "Activate Project Phoenix." The room went cold. Phoenix wasn't just a program. It was a Counter-Strike algorithm designed to burn through entire networks, no matter who got caught in the fire. But Amara was ready. The moment Liang unleashed Phoenix, her code started shifting, rewriting itself in real time, a digital dance of survival. Down in the kitchen, Amara's laptop screen flashed red. She closed her eyes, steadying her breath. "So, you finally brought the fire," she whispered. "Let's see if you can survive your own flames." Her fingers flew across the keyboard, triggering the backup plan, one final layer of her creation that Liang had never seen. The hotel systems began shutting down room by room, rerouting power to a hidden encrypted server, one that didn't belong to Liang anymore. As the lights flickered, Amara whispered softly, "Checkmate isn't when you win. It's when the other player finally sees your plan." Liang stared at his dead screens, his empire's data flickering away into the void. Somewhere, Amara stood in the hotel garden, watching dawn break across the glass towers. The reflection of the rising sun gleamed off the water, and for the first time in years, she smiled. Because the real game had just begun. Fire and silence. The city didn't sleep that night. Every screen, every phone, every stock ticker connected to Liang's empire had glitched for 6 long minutes. 6 minutes that cost him billions. By morning, investors panicked. Media outlets screamed, cyber attack on the Hale dynasty, and his empire, built on control, was bleeding in public. But inside the Grand Regent, Amara wasn't celebrating. Her hands trembled as she stared at the black laptop screen, the faint hum of cooling fans filling the silence. Phoenix had hit harder than expected. She had dodged most of it, but not all. Somewhere in her code, a trace had slipped through. She knew what that meant. Liang could find her. She closed her laptop and whispered, "Not yet, not before I finish." Outside, the manager was pacing the lobby. The hotel had been fixed, but everyone could feel it. The unease, the invisible pressure that made the chandeliers hum just a little too loud. Every sound felt like a warning. In his office, Liang stood surrounded by chaos. His engineers had been working for 20 hours straight, trying to recover data from the wreckage. He wasn't angry anymore. He was quiet, dangerous. "Did we find the source?" he asked, his voice low. A terrified technician hesitated. "Sir, we found something. An access trail embedded inside a piano log. It's encrypted, but the signature looks familiar." Liang's eyes froze. Piano log? He didn't need more explanation. He turned toward the giant city map on his digital wall, his empire glowing in white lines. and zoomed in on one point. The Grand Regent Hotel. "Send a car," he said quietly. "I'm going there myself." Back at the hotel, Amara sensed it before she heard it. The sudden stillness that only came before a storm. She looked out from the service corridor window, and there it was. A sleek black car gliding into the driveway, surrounded by silent bodyguards. Liang had arrived. She closed her eyes. Phase 4, sooner than I planned. In the grand lobby, guests turned their heads as Liang stepped out. Tall, composed, eyes sharp as glass. To the world. He looked like a man in control. But his hands told a different story. They were clenched, shaking ever so slightly. He approached the reception desk, his voice calm. "Call your manager." Moments later, Amara appeared from the back hallway, holding a tray of empty glasses. Her uniform was spotless, her expression unreadable. When their eyes met, the air between them changed, heavy, electric, alive. The billionaire and the maid, the hunter and the ghost. "Do you know who I am?" Liang asked, softly but with menace. Amara's lips curved faintly. "I did. Once." His gaze darkened. "You think you could destroy everything I built?" She stepped closer, her voice low and calm. "You built it on lies, Liang. I just turned on the lights." For a moment, no one breathed. The staff froze. The manager took a step back, realizing this wasn't just about a hotel incident. Liang leaned in. "You're still the same idealist. You think truth changes anything." Amara smiled faintly. "No, but it ends a silence." Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked down. His security feed had just gone dark. Every camera, every lock, every network device in the hotel was offline. Amara tilted her head. "You shouldn't have come here yourself." Panic spread across his face for the first time. "What did you do?" Her eyes gleamed under the soft chandelier light. "You brought your empire's heart here. I just gave it a mirror." Downstairs, the servers were melting under the pressure of a final upload. A live data drop broadcasting his company's secrets to the world. Illegal contracts, bribes, surveillance blueprints, all pouring into the global net in real time. Liang shouted, "Stop it," and lunged forward, but Amara didn't move. Her voice was almost gentle. "You can't stop music once it's played, Liang." Then the hotel lights went out. Complete darkness. A single piano note echoed through the lobby, deep, resonant, and haunting. When the backup lights flickered on, Amara was gone. All that remained was a faint sound of her melody echoing through the grand hall and Liang, standing alone, his reflection trembling in the piano's polished surface. He looked around, the cameras dead, the guests fleeing, the empire burning outside. For the first time, he wasn't the most powerful man in the room. He was the last note in her song. The last note. The world had changed overnight. Every news outlet, every channel. Every social feed screamed the same name. Hale Corporation exposed. Hidden deals, offshore accounts, surveillance programs, all of it leaked. Liang's empire, once untouchable, was now collapsing under its own weight. But no one knew who had done it. Only one camera in the hotel had captured a shadow, a woman in a maid's uniform, walking through the chaos with quiet purpose. No face, no name, just a silhouette that disappeared into the city dawn. Amara, 3 days later, she sat on an empty pier by the harbor. The sun was rising, calm waves glistening gold. And in her lap, the same silver laptop flickered faintly. She wasn't smiling. Her hands trembled from exhaustion. Her plan had worked. But the cost had been high. She had exposed a monster who once owned her life. Yet in the process, she had destroyed everything that once defined her. Behind her, footsteps echoed. She didn't turn. "I should have known you'd come," she said softly. Liang's voice answered, rough and hollow. "You took everything." She sighed. "No, Liang. I just showed them who you really are." He walked closer, his expensive shoes scuffing the old wood. His once perfect suit was crumpled, his eyes bloodshot. But there was something else in them. Not rage, not pride, just emptiness. "You think you won," he whispered. Amara turned to face him, her gaze steady, her voice cold. Winning was never the point. He laughed bitterly. You destroyed yourself too. You can't hide forever. They'll come for you. Amara looked down at her laptop, the screen showing the final upload progress. 99%. I know, she said quietly, but this isn't about hiding. Liang frowned. Then what is it about? She looked at him. Really looked. The man who had once been her mentor, her nightmare, and her mirror. It's about silence, she said. You built an empire on it. I ended it. For a moment, the wind stilled. The ocean shimmered like glass. Then, the upload bar turned green. 100%. Liang lunged forward, but Amara closed the laptop and stood. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful. You were right about one thing, she said. Power belongs to those who control information. But control was your weakness. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Because I never wanted power, Liang. I wanted freedom. Liang's knees gave way. He sank to the pier, his empire dissolving in the distance, his name already trending for all the wrong reasons. Amara turned away, her footsteps soft on the wooden planks. Where will you go now? He asked weakly. She paused. The wind caught her hair, the rising sun painting her face in gold. Anywhere there's music, she said. And then, faintly, from her small portable speaker, the piano began to play. Slow, haunting, beautiful. The same melody that had once echoed through the Grand Regent. Only this time, it wasn't code. It was closure. As she disappeared into morning light, Liang stared at the ocean, the sound of her music fading into the waves. The world would remember him as the billionaire who felt his own creation. But somewhere in the vast silence he left behind, her song lived on. The end. Clapperboard.